Okay, so welcome to the Honey Podcast. We are back this week with a special guest. So we have Steven from Steven in Stereo, and we have him on the show. We're just going to kind of talk to him, ask him a couple of our burning questions. So we just want to say thank you for coming on the show with us. And we just wanted to know how you're doing today, how's your day going, all that stuff before we really jump into the hard questions.
Sure. Well, first off, I just want to thank you so much. This is awesome for me because I actually love you guys. So the fact that I get to do this is really fun. When you asked me, I was like so stoked, a little fanboy moment. But yeah, I'm doing great. My one naughty thing I do during COVID is I still support my local record store. So I try to go like once or twice a week. I bought a bunch of records today and it's kind of like, it's been a good vibe. I knew this was coming up today.
Yes.
So
Well, that's actually awesome because we do have some questions about your vinyl collection in our little setup. So you kind of prereq that. Really awesome. But we're going to get started with some of your background on like what you do on your YouTube channel. So you do like reacts for different albums and songs and stuff like that. So I don't know how many of our fans watch you and vice versa, but we're coming together. We're making this whole thing. And we just wanted to know, like, what is your like go-to thing? Like, what happens when you are listening to a song and you need to find something positive and you kind of like don't like the song? Like, how do you work around that?
So I'm pretty fortunate, and I think it's one thing that set me apart from a lot of my friends growing up is that I don't really have any barriers with music that I listen to. And I think if you were to go through my record collection, there are probably metal snobs that would be pissed at some of the stuff I have, and vice versa. There'd probably be people that look through here and see all these popular artists, and then they see stuff they've never heard of before.
Right.
I think to me, I spent so much of my time growing up by myself. I was very much a loner, an introvert. I struggled with anxiety and depression. To me, my biggest go-to, my best friend was music. It didn't really matter what it sounded like. I can sit here and sing an entire George Strait album with you and turn around and, put on Cradle of Filth or whatever. Like, to me, music has always been something that it was very easy to be positive about because it was like the only thing that I really cared about. And so kind of like segueing into reactions, for me, I don't go in with an expectation, even if it's a band that I already know. We can take my favorite band, like Bayside, my favorite band of all time. I know, and to me, okay, so Acoustic Volume 2, here's a great example. I didn't have any expectations for that album, but coming off of Acoustic 1, it's really hard to not set an expectation because that was such a powerful record after the passing of the drummer. It was just such a big moment for them. 2 sounded nothing like that, but I didn't go into it expecting to hear Volume 1, so I loved it. And I think the same thing goes with all the reactions I do. Take, for example, 5 Seconds of Summer. I didn't know who that band was, which is crazy because I see this huge fan base that I didn't know existed. I would see people wear their shirts around at like a local grocery store, and I was like, well, that's interesting. Like, that's a cool name, but like, what is that? And so when I did my first reaction to No Shame, I didn't even know that like they had a fan base like that.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't know what I was getting into with that.
Yeah.
And so, that's one of those things where like, you don't know what's going to happen when you turn it on, but the beauty I found in that one thing, I guess because I'm not looking for the negatives. So the beauty in finding what I found, I turned out to fall in love with the band and like became a huge fan of like their pop punk albums and stuff. And to me, it's like, fuck, like imagine if I would have went in like, here we go, it's gonna be a boy band moment, and then like having to find something. Like, I see people that do that, and like as a reaction channel, every once in a while I am recommended other reaction channels, and sometimes I'm like, damn, like you're really, I don't know if this is real. I don't know if you're feeling like this right now. Like, this doesn't feel real.
I mean, like, that's quite cool. Yeah, because they call Five Sauce, they used to refer to themselves as the biggest band that nobody's ever heard of.
I heard him say that on an interview.
Yeah, and it's so true. Like, because especially like over here, because their earlier career over here, they were really like huge, and it's kind of like changed to them being huge in America bigger in America around the Youngblood era, kind of flipped, and like people are only starting to really hear about 5 Seconds of Summer again over here now. So it's really bizarre. I mean, like they have got such a fiercely loyal fan base. And that's why, like, when all of this craziness of the pandemic and that chills, I'm so excited for you to experience 5 Seconds of Summer concert first time, and being in a room with all of those people that feel exactly the same way as you do is one of the best feelings, honestly. And the Five Sauce fam really are like, you all just come together, different walks of life, it doesn't matter. It's just the coolest concert or show to go to.
See, and I'm looking forward to that. And like, so the thing is, like, I worked at Hot Topic for like 3 or 4 years, and like we sold 5 Seconds of Summer shirts. I guess that would have been around SGFG time. But like, you see so many bands coming through and kind of like trends coming through when you work in a store like that, like you don't always either remember the impact the band was having, or you don't always remember necessarily like what their fan base was like. And so if I would have, it's like, I guess the whole point of this, to wrap this around to your initial question, was I think the reason I have been so successful at what I'm doing is because I don't have to fake it. I really do give a shit. And like, you know, there is a lot of money to make. I've learned that on YouTube, but I invest so much of my money back into music that it's like ridiculous. And I think the point is, I love to see the art continue to grow, because it was such an escape for me. And I meet so many people on the internet that are 13, 17, 43, doesn't matter, that all have a similar story, that music is kind of what saved them. And I totally vibe with that. And I love that I have a channel where I can express that love. And, you know, I don't get a lot of comments that are like, this is fake. I actually don't see much of that at all. And that like makes me happy, because it's like, I'm glad people are seeing that it's me authentic, and not just like, oh, I'm going to get it.
I was going to say, that's probably, I would say you're one of the like ones that sets you apart totally from like other React videos, because you, like you said, you can watch some of those sometimes and you're like, I don't think you like that much.
But I feel like that's also why you've got such a loyal and like really cool following as well, because we can tell that you're authentic, and that's what brings us back and makes us keep watching you. So
totally, that means a lot to me. Because at the end of the day, like, that's all, like, building this community and stuff, I didn't know any of this was going to happen. Like, I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but you know, just seeing, like, watching people watch me grow, because I was in a really like messed up place like this time a year ago, watching people watch me come out of that and then building up a community since then. I think the last 8 months for me has been the most amazing moment, not just for my life, but just for seeing that community grow. It's been so awesome to meet so many people, and just it's just so insane to me sometimes. So I love it.
It's quite a journey, that's for sure. And while we're on the topic of 5 Seconds of Summer, 2 questions for you. So last week we did a top 10, because we couldn't drop it down to 5 because we are crazy. So we did a top 10 5 Seconds of Summer songs. So my first question would be, what would be like your top 5, top 3 songs if you could pick one today? Like today,
because we know it changes every day.
If you can't narrow it down to like 5, that's okay, but like just give us like your top songs.
I could probably do 3. So I always like to, so it constantly shifts for me, a lot of it having to do with, one, every era of them sounds so different that there's an appeal for pretty much anything. So that's a big thing for me. And 2, it depends on where I'm at. For example, right now, my top songs, Jet Black Heart will always be my favorite song of all time. And I think it's because it felt like 2 worlds were colliding when I listened to that, because it felt like all this like emo and pop punk I was listening to in middle school and high school was coming together with a new band for me. And when that happened, I had like an emotional moment. So that was important. And then the other 2, I'm actually pulling right off of Calm. And the reason being is Old Me hits so hard for me as I'm growing up, and as I'm, I guess, like, I know I'm 30, I get it, but I'm like coming into my age and like really like appreciating, and like appreciating where I've been and like where I'm going. And the first time I heard Old Me, it did not hit like that. But hearing Old Me now, I feel like I'm very attached to that song. And then, my opinion, Red Desert is one of 5 Seconds of Summer's sleepers. People sleep on that track.
Oh my gosh, I don't think either one of us had that on. Did we have that on?
No, we didn't. But I will say that what I've loved about Calm is I've noticed, as every time you revisit it, you notice a different layer of, and you appreciate other songs more instantly. For me, because I'm a Callum stan, I was all about Wildflower, and Yeah, and then and like from Youngblood, Babylon, like those were my songs. But then like I go back and Red Desert is a song that it's never a skip. It's never a skip. But I'm starting to appreciate it more and more. I didn't really like Lover of Mine at first, and now I'm obsessed with it.
Oh, I love that one. So on the same, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No,
so on the same sense, we were arguing about this before. Well, not arguing, but we were trying to guess who your favorite 5 Seconds of Summer member was. Who would you say you stand the most?
Fuck. You know, am I allowed to curse? Wait, am I allowed to curse?
Yeah, you're allowed to curse.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so bad, so I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Totally fine.
You know, this is one of those things that kind of change. I've always radiated to Michael, and the reason being is that I feel like him and I would vibe on so many levels musically. Him and his dad and myself have become kind of Twitter friends, like in the DMs, and like
I love that.
it's so cute. It's so cute. He was like messaging me about something the other day, and he was like, I showed Michael one of your videos on FaceTime when I was helping him with my computer, and I was like, I love you.
I love that so much.
But then Ashton dropped Super Bloom. And like, it's really hard for me to listen to that, hear that grunge, and not also feel like I could have those same conversations, which I think is probably why him and Michael probably get along so well, is that I feel like there's a lot there to talk about. And
I'm smug because I said Mashton, so I said that.
You did call it. I was like, dude, I just saw his tweet about Luke being pretty, and I think the same thing.
Is.
Like, he's so pretty.
So that's the thing. Like, seeing him, his painted nails, his makeup, I am just like, whew.
It's just
like
amazing.
He is a pretty dude.
He is. And I just love him.
And it also would not be fair if I did not mention my absolute love for emo Callum. Like when Callum does, especially his live vocals, I notice it in albums, but when he does his live vocals and he's hitting these verses and stuff, dude, I want a Michael and Callum emo project. 6 songs. Give me an EP, cover a good Charlotte track. Give me this.
I will say.
I don't know if I could survive that.
I will say, without any spoilers, Meet You There live. I was there for that recording at Brixton Academy, and prepare to have your mind blown.
I'm not ready.
That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I'm such a Babylon girl though, so you'll understand. But yeah.
Oh, I'm excited to check that out. You know, the only thing that's really like held me back from jumping right into it is that hearing a live album is one thing, being able to see it is another. And I'm always like kind of hoping that they're like, oh, by the way, here's the DVD for Meet You There, you know, as a anniversary thing or whatever. And I'm always kind of hoping that's going to happen, because I know that it probably hits so hard, but seeing the visuals of everyone and how passionate they get in some of these songs would take it to a whole new level.
Yeah, and it was confusing for us as fans, because when we were there, they were recording as visually as well as like the audio. So for all we know, there could be a recording of that out there that we don't know yet.
Hope so.
I know they aired Youngblood for like an Australian charity thing, I think, when the fires were happening, or it was something like that. But I don't know if that was the only thing they were recording. But yeah, I'd like to think that we're going to get something like that eventually.
That would be really cool, because you know the 5 Seconds of Summer movie, How Did We End Up Here? That was really cool for someone like me who was like late into the game. You know, I've always grown up on falling in love with the music, sometimes not even knowing the members of the band, or vice versa, falling in love with a punk band, you know, all of the members, you know, everything they do. And so it's kind of interesting to see the way like Stan Twitter acts, because it's kind of like that to a sense, like, you know, like everything about the band, and what that does is it makes the music better, in my opinion. It creates a more intimate moment with the band, so you feel like I know you, and therefore you're my friend, and this music is better because of that. And I definitely feel like watching that DVD helped a lot for me, because up until then I didn't know much about their actual history, so it was super cool.
Yeah, Cocktail Chats was awesome as well, and seeing you react to that. I know everyone was so excited, and like I saw so many comments asking you to react to that as well.
Yeah,
and I knew you were gonna love it.
Hilarious.
Yeah, so good, and so many good memes came out of that. So many.
Oh yeah.
The memes are the best. So on the same thing about like as far as Luke and his being beautiful, we're going to talk about, of course, the king of all to do it, Harry Styles. So, of course, this past, I kept whispering it earlier. It was really weird, but I just was like, Harry Styles.
I had to call her out for it. She's there going.
And Jenny was like, why do you keep saying
I'm
it?
like, you
I don't know.
I thought she was about to set up an ASMR channel, just whispering Harry Styles.
Oh, you should.
I should.
I would subscribe.
So would I.
So, what we want to ask about Harry Styles is that he took to Vogue and he was rocking a dress and he killed it. He looked better in a dress than I could ever dream of looking in a dress, and I look pretty damn good in a dress.
I love that.
But what we wanted to talk about was just how you kind of took to it and you embraced your full self and you jumped on Instagram with the dress. You rocked it hella good too. And we just want to talk about what kind of advice would you give to people that are kind of dealing with the lashback that Harry kind of got, and what kind of advice could you give them to do the same and just embrace their full inner self?
Sure. So that was very spur of the moment. You know, I saw the photo with the dress and I was in love right away. And it's kind of weird how like different people can look at that and see something different. Because I look at that and I see Harry Styles. Yeah. And some people look at that and they, you know, they want to drop every slur you can think of. And, you know, I got to a point where like I was kind of fuming. Like I was heated that day because I was like, dude, like why on earth is this the reaction that he's getting? And you know, he's trending for the wrong reason right now. So I was like, fuck it. You know, my wife's got a pretty good dress collection. There's got to be, she's tiny, but there's got to be something in there that I can put on. And I'm like, I'm just going to do it because you know what? Like I have a platform, and this to me is the ultimate form of standing up for Harry Styles, is taking a photo and just feeling beautiful about it. And I put it on and I did kind of like, you know, what I was going to do. I didn't expect anything of it except for my handful of people that are always liking and commenting on my stuff to be like, oh yeah, kill it, girl. No, it was like trending for a moment. And I was like, oh no. But it was important to me for that to happen because I think that when people have a platform and when people are outspoken like I am, like I mean, I call people out on their bullshit on my timeline and it gets me some backlash sometimes. But you know what? Like, I feel like people need to, I guess, in a sense, be held accountable. But on the other hand, they need to address things that are in their face. I have huge Trump supporter family members that I can't wait to find out what they thought about me in a dress because I fucking love it. Because to me, the form of self-expression is to unapologetically be yourself. Now, it's easy for me to sit here in my privilege and tell you that and tell you how wonderful it is to just be yourself and do whatever. I'm more fortunate than a lot of people, and I know that. And it's not easy to, you know, I'm fortunate to have very open-minded parents. Maybe they weren't always when I was growing up, but they've definitely grown a lot as I've grown, and I'm obviously not just a normal person, and my parents had to come to terms with that. And I feel like there is this level of almost like censorship for people to be who they want to be. And it hurt my feelings a lot for them to see Harry Styles trending for such a negative issue when I thought he looked beautiful and he looked happy and he looked healthy and he looked like he was having a great time. And my first response would never be to criticize, like saying that he's not a man. Now, Candace Owens is who really pissed me off. Because,
my man.
Because she, you know, of all things to be heated about right now, why attack him? And it wasn't about the stands and the lashback and everything she was going to get. What made you decide to sit down during the world when all this shit is in turmoil and use your platform for that? That's what bothered me the most. It was like, Harry Styles is this beautiful creature, and whether you're a fan of him or not, you can agree that seeing someone express themselves in a positive way the way he did is beautiful, and that self-expression is fucking beautiful. But to see her use her Twitter to do that, to see Ben Shapiro, who, he'll never see this, but I will knock you the fuck out. Ben Shapiro is a piece of shit. And to see all of that happening, that to me was like, I'm throwing on a dress. In fact, I called Ben Shapiro out. He didn't see it. Then I would box him for charity. And I was going to box him in a dress because to me, I would love for you to tell me that it makes you less of a man, that there is some sort of toxic masculinity that still exists in this world because of people like Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, who could, again, use their platform for anything else.
Yeah.
And you're choosing this. And what happens is it's the year 2020. Like, I'm 30. I want to have a kid someday. My kid is going to wear whatever the fuck they want to wear. They're going to be whoever the fuck they want to be. And guess what? Candace Owens, everyone in the world like me that is procreating, you're fucked. Because I don't give a fuck. I want my kid to be happy and healthy and safe, whatever way that can be. And I think Harry Styles doing what he did gave us such an amazing example of what it is like to be yourself. And I think that if people continue to shit on him, that's fine, because what we're doing is separating the herd from the people that want to ruin the world and the people that want to embrace love.
Yeah.
And if people want to use their timeline to talk about deer hunting and how unmasculine Harry Styles is for wearing a dress, I would just like to point out that Harry Styles could have any man, woman, anybody that he wanted in his life, dress or no dress.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
love it.
Really.
I do love that we're actually in an age now where there's guys like Harry Styles and Youngblood and Luke Hemmings and that you know they are being unapologetically themselves and letting, you know, a generation of girls and guys grow up knowing that it's like okay to be you and embrace it. And if you want to wear a dress, as a woman, if you want to be androgynous, I am most of the time. Be it.
Hell yeah.
And I love that.
It's also really important to point out, and I don't understand why there is such a difference. David Bowie is one of my all-time greatest artists, so important in my life, just such an amazing person. Wore dresses, didn't give a fuck. Prince, who is marked down in history as one of the greatest things to ever happen to music, wore a dress. Kurt Cobain and Nirvana as a whole, no problem wearing a dress. Fat Mike from NoFX wore a dress. Bands everywhere wearing dresses. And the thing that I don't get is, in punk, it's always been acceptable. I feel like androgynous clothing in general was pretty acceptable in punk rock. I think that's where a lot of maybe tendencies I have and things like that, it kind of came from watching bands I liked growing up not caring. I'm pretty sure Blink-182 has been in a dress before. I think I've seen.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but it's so crazy to me that Harry Styles, the thing is, the male ego is so fragile. Yeah. And Harry Styles is so beautiful. And you put Harry Styles next to people that are challenging him, and it's a really hard argue. It's like, okay, well, this is Harry Styles. This is one of the most important people in pop culture as of right now. We are fortunate to live in a time of our generations, and I'm going to say it, our generation's Bowie, our generation's Prince. We're getting somebody that, 20 years from now, people are going to be in awe that he existed and that he exists and that he's putting these albums out. And we're choosing that time right now to try to divide what we think men's rights should be. Right. Come on.
Come on. I love it. I think that is the best way possible to describe it. I think it's awesome that you go on the timeline and go off on people, because that's how we have kind of sprouted a friendship, I think, because I like to do too. And I just think it's awesome to be one of those voices, and just hell yeah. Just overall, that's all I can say is hell yeah.
I appreciate you.
While we did a really heavy hitting question, we kind of do that on our show. We kind of go back and forth with some serious heavy topics, and then we try to do some fun stuff. So I'm going to throw in a couple fun ones for you. Again, you are one of my Twitter followers, so I'm sure you've seen them. I am the worst typer of all time, and I typo all the time. What, if you can remember, what is the worst typo you've ever had?
Well, honestly, I do it a lot, and I'm starting to learn that a lot of people have my notifications on. So I'm having to reread.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need that edit tweet button.
Oh my God, please give it to us. Worst typo. Honestly, off the top of my head, mine are usually instead of me, I'll have my or something, or I'll tweet a lyric and it'll autocorrect one word to a different word, which
and then you're
really
just getting called out like crazy.
Well, because to me, I fix it quick because I'm always ooh, I don't want people to think that I don't know the words to this. So that's really the majority for me is typically it's just a quick autocorrect because I type it quick, and I never I have to start reading my tweets before I post them. That's really the thing I learned here. But I think my typos are good. But now that I know that you do it so much, what was your worst one?
When when she's in simp mode, as we call it, normally about Machine Gun Kelly, she'll be texting me, and we'll be like, because we both love him lots, and I'm also the same with Water Parks as well. We'll be talking, and she was getting really in her feelings one day, and then she was meant to say laugh my ass off, but she said lard.
It was just like lard. I said it like 3 times.
And it just came along.
I
just came along
lard,
at the
lard.
time.
That's all it said was lard?
She's there going, oh my God, so hot. Wow, lard. And I'm like,
it was like, I love him. He's so hot. Lard. And she was like, are you okay? No, I'm not.
Do you feel like every week I'm going to have a segment now where I expose Danny a little bit?
You should. I feel like, you know what, it's all in good fun, and I think it's part of what makes you so unique and fun.
I'm sure she's going to do it to me as well at some point.
Lard.
Absolutely. Just lard. Just lard on the timeline. I don't know what it was, but yeah.
Lard on
I love it. I love it.
But honestly, that would be, I was going to say that one. That would probably be number one. But I guarantee you in probably a day's time, I'll do a worse one. So yeah, I'm just a terrible typer. Also, before we forget, we have a very important message from Celine, and she wanted us to tell her that she says hi.
Like that.
I've been waiting for this because she told me she was going to say something. You know what? Damn it. Tell her hello.
Yes, we sure will. Just like that. Hello. So, before we jump back into music questions, do you watch The Office?
Is this
I'm just checking because I said it earlier, and then Jody was like, does he watch it? And I was like, yeah, I mean, like, everyone watches The Office, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah. I think I have a Michael Scott. I actually have 2 Michael Scott little figurines back here on my shelf.
Love that. Who is your favorite character off The Office?
Okay, so I don't want to be the guy who goes for the main, but here, let me tell you why I love Michael Scott so much.
Okay.
Because Michael Scott we've all had that boss or someone that wanted to be that boss.
Yeah.
And he's always struggling with wanting to be a boss and wanting to be everybody's friend. And I felt like I had that problem when I worked at Whole Foods. I wanted to be your boss, but I wanted to be your friend too.
Yeah.
And just to watch his interactions with life, when he was gone, the show wasn't the same to me.
Right.
And I felt like it lost a lot of its power. And I feel like Steve Carell as a human is just so cool. If you ever read about his Reddit interactions and people that meet him in public, like he's such a likable person. And it makes me fall in love with Steve Carell. Actually, I was watching The Office this morning. I think I've seen it all the way through 9 times.
Yeah.
Because you just fall in love with him. So Steve, it would definitely be Michael Scott.
Mine's Dwight because he is weird. He knows he's weird and he's unashamedly himself. And I think that I relate to that in a way.
You guys are gonna yell at me for this one, but mine is 2 people, and it's Ryan and Kelly, because I just think that they are so ridiculous that it's so funny. Like the 2 of them together just kills me. It kills me.
It's the toxicity.
It's
the toxicity
so
of that relationship is so funny, but so bad.
It's so bad, and it's so funny that I just can't. Off the top of your head, can you pick a favorite episode?
Well, before I answer that, I have to give Creed a little bit.
Yes.
So I was actually rewatching the episode where they find the marijuana at the office, and Steve Carell's trying to get out of his drug test, or Michael Scott, sorry, and my favorite thing is how quick Creed has 5 seconds in the show, and Dwight's like, what is this? And he goes, oh, that's what do you say, Northern Lights Indica? And he goes,
Indica.
No. He goes, no, it's marijuana.
Yo, that is a good one.
I thought it was so funny.
Northern Lights Indica.
Okay, my favorite episode of The Office. Oh my God. Maybe... Oh, I like the one where they're all trying to lose weight. I feel like that one is hilarious when they all keep getting back on the scale. And Michael Scott is so flustered when they get up, oh, we gained 4 pounds. And I'm like, yes. And I also like the roast of Michael Scott.
Oh, that is a good one. Very good.
Boom, roasted. To me, I feel like those are some of those Some of those episodes that are so quotable, and that is one of them.
So my roommate and I are very obsessed with The Office, as is everyone in the entire world. But our go-to one is Benihana Christmas. And we put that one, like, if we're having a bad day, we're like, put on Benihana Christmas. It just kills us every time. That's like one of my favorite ones.
I love that.
It's so good. So good.
Well, I need to go back and watch them again. Really
it's just like what you do.
Is it hard for you to like enjoy like the American version of The Office?
I mean, I like both of them and appreciate them both as separate things, but I get why if you watch the US Office first, why you wouldn't necessarily appreciate the UK Office. But,
sure.
I'm just a huge Ricky Gervais fan, so
I love him.
Anything he's in, I adore it. So
I love him,
and I love him as an activist as well. Like he's all about the animals, isn't he, and stuff. So,
yes.
And I love him.
I'm a fan of that. And Ricky, like honestly, he was one of the people. Like I'm not a religious dude and things like that. And he was one of those people that like made me feel super comfortable with like being okay with that because he's very outspoken that way. I also, while we're here, Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean was my entire childhood. So
I loved Mr. Bean. Yeah.
Oh my God, same. On my old VHS, it was like the best bits of Mr. Bean, and I used to watch it all the time.
yeah. For me, we had Mr. Bean, and I don't know if you've heard of it over there, but like there's a UK show called Only Fools and Horses.
No.
It's like one of the most iconic British TV shows ever. It's about like a family that in East End London that they're kind of they're salesmen, and it's really funny. But that and Mr. Bean, Rowan Atkinson is a legend, and obviously he was in Blackadder, which is also another iconic British show.
I've never seen that either. Wow.
Blackadder, honestly, and anything Monty Python as well. It's like classic British. Like
hell yeah.
Yeah, totally. I'm getting all nostalgic now. I think I'm going to have to, after this, I'm going to have to go and watch all these old shows again and The Office.
I'm going to go right for The Office.
I'm watching Arrested Development at the moment because Ibby told me to watch it.
It's so good. Michael Cera is just his existence.
I love the memes that are like, he just accidentally became an actor. And you're like, he did. Like, I know that's how it happened.
He's just there and he's like...
I know that's exactly how it happened.
All right. Best reaction memes come from Arrested Development as well.
Do that?
Oh, I don't know if
if GIF search them on Twitter, and
I certainly will.
I have to. I love that show. That show is so good. Ahead of its time.
It is. Yeah.
So we have like 2 more questions for you. The first one, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about your time at the Honey Pop. So you are a writer with the Honey Pop, as are we. And we just wanted to know there's like 3 parts to this question. So sorry about that. But we wanted to know first of all, what is your biggest takeaway so far from the Honey Pop? Like what's the biggest thing that you've gotten out of it so far?
So I actually wanted to say this whenever we were kind of introing, but I respect what the 2 of you and everyone else does. It's so incredible to see fans that care about what they're writing about and put in the amount of time that you all do for the sake and love of just doing it. And it's really incredible to me. And it's something that I've noticed, the just overall companionship and friendship that you guys have all sort of brought together. When I pop on Discord and I just see the love all day, like you sent me a taco yesterday, those things are just like, they're so cool. And I feel like, whatever happens with the Honey Pop, the more that everybody grows in there, it's just so amazing to see the dedication that people have, because it kind of reminds me of DIY roots in like record labels and punk music and metal and things like that. People doing it for the love, and then maybe something comes out of it, but it's not what the goal is. And so to me, my biggest takeaway is just meeting people that are as involved and as invested as everyone at the Honey Pop is. It's absolutely incredible. I've met so many cool people already, including the 2 of you. So I love that. That is my biggest takeaway.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would say the friendships,
friendships is a massive thing. And finding people that like dig the same things you dig.
Yeah.
And it's about being positive instead of hearing about the negative side of things. It's about focusing on what's great about music and movies and pop culture in general.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I love. I just love that, I kind of feel like while I'm not nearly as active as obviously you guys are, I've always felt that I fit in there in a sense that I view the things the same way you do. Like,
Right.
you know, even if it's like, you know, PR comes through for maybe like, you know, like a butt rock band, right? Like, you know, it plays on the rock station. It's nothing but rock. And I get so excited to listen to whatever they just sent out. And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I can't wait to talk about it. Like, to me, like, that's kind of like one of the coolest things is so you end up being in a community of people where everyone is different in their own ways, but we're all positive about the same thing, which is music and just getting the word out to people. And that's why I feel like that site and it as a whole is going to go so far, because the news and the media is so negative. Look at Harry Styles.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And with that being said, who would be your favorite artist that you've gotten to cover so far?
That I've gotten to cover so far, probably, I would say, you know, I haven't done a billion articles, but definitely Black Audio, because I am absolutely, if you can't tell by my signed Extremis, I have a signed AFI album over here as well. I'm obsessed with Davey Havok and AFI. So to me, that was really cool. I also ended up, like, a lot of people, I guess, that were big fans of Black Audio saw that because I guess they didn't get a lot of press. And people were like messaging me on Instagram, like, oh, thank you for covering and knowing what you were talking about. It meant a lot to us. And so that was really cool. And also like covering like Atreyu. Like, to me, I was like, hell yeah.
That is a cool
Atreyu PR.
Yeah, like what a throwback. Oh my gosh.
I love that.
Yeah, that is really, really awesome. And
what about
feel
you?
Like we have a very, for me, well, this is hard because I feel like I'm all over the place with music, but I feel like we have a kind of similar music taste. But I would say like covering MGK has been like a huge deal for me, and I've really enjoyed all of that. Jody and I try to like split it up because we both love him so much.
That's
but
awesome.
then also I would say the Wonder Years, like covering the Wonder Years, they're my favorite band like of all time. So like covering them has been really super cool for me. Youngblood, I couldn't pick one, honestly. I've had so many cool opportunities, and like, but those would be my top three. I would say the Wonder Years, MGK, and Youngblood have been like some of the coolest that I've gotten to cover.
Hell yeah. Those are huge names right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's been like such an opportunity. And like you said, like, it's just cool because we are fans and we get to like just I get to fangirl all up in that, and it's just great.
And when you write about them and then it gets posted out online and they notice it, it's such a cool feeling.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like a couple of weeks ago, Ashton noticed someone's write up on Super Bloom. I got a notice from MGK.
Yeah. What a good one. I know, I'm still jealous about that.
It will happen, your time will come. And like it's just really cool just seeing that they're seeing not just seeing the article, but they're seeing the Honey Pop as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing too. And I think the representation of that website is so good because it is from a positive place, and it comes from a place of love of not only for the art, but for the artist. And so it's a place that MGK can click on it and knows that it's coming from a good place versus, you know, you never know what you're getting with some of these places. And you might type in your favorite band on Google and look for the article and you're like pissed at the end of it. Like, why did you just trash this album? Like, come on. So that's cool. It ends up being a safe place for kind of everybody.
Yeah, sure.
What about, what artists do you want to cover that you haven't yet?
So I actually talked with Ibby when I kind of first got on, because she said you were doing like a lot, and she said that, you know, she would like be stoked if I like took over like a month, like a, you know, Metal Monday or whatever, something like that, something that I could like. So to me, it would be really cool to be able to have sort of something like that where like I can showcase the old, the new, what's coming, things like that. At the same time, it'll never happen because there's too many wonderful people that love Harry Styles, but I would love to interview someone like Harry Styles, someone like, you know, Michael Clifford, someone like, just somebody that I feel like we would vibe out to different music. And I feel like I could ask really great questions that would kind of like go back to those influences, and it'd be something where we're like, hey, this is you as an artist, but what did this album do?
Yeah.
When you listen to this album, what do you think it did for you as a musician or as whatever? So to me, it's mostly, I'd love to get in front of artists I like just to find out what they like.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
For sure. And also I'm the person that sees the PR. So if you've ever got anyone you wanna write about,
the girl you want to talk to.
I will make sure to keep that in mind.
But for sure, we were doing Metal Monday for a while. And if we get that, we should definitely try and get that started back up again, because that would be an awesome opportunity.
I feel like you two could talk about metal.
Yeah.
A lot. I mean, I'm kind of like, I only know the big names and stuff. I don't know all the small, I wish I did, but I don't. But I know for sure that you two could probably have an entire different podcast just talking about metal.
For sure.
And I'd listen to it, because I'm someone who actually wants to learn more names and expand my catalogue of music. So yeah.
Sure. And it's, what's crazy is like, I've always been to a lot of music, but like for me, when I think of things like pop music and stuff like that, because you get so involved in not necessarily underground stuff, but because you get involved in more of the DIY, you get involved in like punk and hardcore, metal, stuff like that, whatever. It's not so mainstream, especially these days. And so for like a good 15-year gap, I wasn't listening to like radio hits at all. Yeah, so for me, making my channel was one of the best things I could have done for music, because for my music taste, because my record collection has grown so much just in the last, I started in 2018. So I've learned so many bands just out of that. And I think it's that curiosity, like Jody was saying, to always want to learn more names, to always want to know more music, expanding my music knowledge. Like, I don't care what your hobbies are. I don't care what your interests are. What's your favorite band? What's your favorite album? What's your favorite artist? That's how we're going to make a real conversation. Like, because when I hear what you listen to, I'm always going to be like, okay, so I wonder if you're into this. And then before you know it, we've made a family tree of the coolest bands. And we somehow ended up back into one of my favorite bands. We've like the 12 layers of Kevin Bacon or whatever.
It's so true. I mean, it's so true.
It is. I mean, like when I say 16-year-old Jody's favorite bands were NSYNC and Korn.
Like,
hell yeah.
That explains me in a nutshell. And Korn were the first band I ever saw live as well. So.
Ooh, so I love that, because when I think about how I kind of got into like punk music at all, is that I had an uncle that was super into punk rock, and he borrowed a stack of my CDs, and like I had my Limp Bizkit in there, and I had like there was like an ICP album, and I was in 4th grade. So like I was just whatever people were talking about, I just happened to have the CDs. And I also had NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and all that stuff, Destiny's Child. And then he borrowed my CDs to like copy them onto his computer, but when he gave them back, he accidentally left like a White Zombie and like Minor Threat and like all these like, a couple of bands, Fear. And I remember going home and listening to them, and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And so then I was on Napster and LimeWire and whatever I could do to download every single thing that wasn't a virus. And
or was.
And then or was. I mean, who knows at this point? I probably damaged the family computer, but I was able to make mixtapes. And before you know it, I was getting into like old punk and then street punk and then anarcho punk. And I was learning about animal rights and all the kind of things that I think of when I think of like who I am as a person and kind of like what I stand for. All of that came from like punk music. Yeah. And then I kind of just fell down the rabbit hole of always wanting more and more. And then MySpace was a beautiful place for music. And I went to so many shows.
Oh my God.
I saw so many bands where the bills were literally stacked with like metal bands and hardcore bands and everything. And like the person I am today wouldn't exist if not for always being fed so much music from different genres at once. And that's why, for me, I experienced the Calm album, and it's important that I bring that back up because that album is experimentation to the fullest. That band went from a pop punk band to I don't even know what you would want to call them anymore because they have transcended beyond the need of a genre. That track list is so different in so many different ways. And for someone like me who nerds out over that experimentation and sort of just like branching different influences in, Calm is perfection when it comes to that. Youngblood too. Youngblood was a huge step in that direction. And it's easy to go back to 5 Seconds of Summer because they were a band that did it. Good Charlotte was a band that did it. All these bands that ended up sort of like standing the test of time and going on to Blink-182. Come on, that last album, no one could have expected that. no one could have expected that out of what you were listening to when you were in middle school.
Right.
But it happened because
It did.
in order to stick around and in order to continue to grow as musicians and have this long-standing career, you got to change with the times.
And like
evolution
MGK
is beautiful.
Rap to pop punk.
Yeah.
You know, when MGK was a rapper, I didn't even know. I didn't even listen to him.
See,
I
I
knew he
loved him.
existed.
I loved him as a rapper, and for him to make the transition into pop punk, that's like one of my favorite genres. I was like,
I do feel like Hotel Diablo was a good stepping stone.
Yeah.
Because Hotel Diablo is rap, but also got that stepping stone of Hollywood Whore is very Linkin Park.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's like these little subtle step stones. I mean, he dedicated that video to Chester Bennington, didn't he? Like if you watch the video, his name flashes up through the video and things like that. So you know that like he took those influences and like he's a huge Blink fan. So I bet he was nerding out about the collaboration with Travis Barker as well.
Well, and just the fact that didn't Travis Barker produce this whole new album? Like to me,
making more music now too.
See, to me, okay, let's talk about this for a second. So MGK, I didn't really know who he was. Now, when I was in Hot Topic, worked at Hot Topic, we'd sell shirts, and I kind of like, I didn't have an opinion on it, but I was just kind of saw shirts, and I was like, okay, look, anarchy symbol. I don't really know what's going on with any of this, so I don't know. I don't know if this is punk. I don't know if this is metal. I didn't know he was hip hop. So the Eminem beef, to me, it was both a negative and a positive. Like, I love Eminem, and I grew up listening to Eminem, although I do question a lot of what he does these days, or I guess like a lot of the things that he says in the current. Sometimes you can get a pass if it was like 20 years ago, but if you're still saying it, it's kind of like, times have changed, dude. So that beef, when that happened, to me, it put MGK's name in my head, and it was kind of like, okay, so I started hearing more and more about him, and then obviously he did his diss back, and it was kind of like, oh, like, wow, this guy's got like, he's got some talent, and you got to have a lot of nerve. So this is cool. Let's see what happens here. He did, I Think I'm Okay. That song nailed it for me. My wife played it in the car one day, and I was like, who is this? And she's like, it's MGK. I was like, no, it's not. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, no way. So I've jammed that song so many times at this point. It's kind of one of my intros to Youngblood too, I would guess. And then, little bit here and there with the hip hop stuff I started getting into, but this last album, 10 out of 10 for me. I mean, I feel like it's getting slandered in some places and not slandered in some. People say that it is, that it is a bland attempt at pop punk. To me, it embraces 2003.
It's like old school pop punk. Like, how can people just hate it because it's him? Like, that's my thing.
I'm learning that.
I love it as someone who literally had to buy another Enema of the State CD because they played their other one too much. It's so nice having like someone out there now that's doing something that gives me the nostalgic vibes of how it felt buying that CD and listening to it, because like Concert for Aliens has a huge like Enema of a State vibe about it to me, and I love that. And it also kind of feels like it is actually pointing in the direction of like aliens exist on Enema of a State. So
yes.
So, yeah.
I'm really
I like looking for Easter eggs.
Like, you're doing something right.
That's what I'm saying. And like, so we're talking about like some of these artists that are coming up now that are being mentored by MGK and Travis Barker, going under their wing. I see a lot of people, and I rant about this if I do like a Jaden video or anything. I rant about this every time because people will hate on it because they're blending hip hop and pop punk. And for some reason, that is still some sort of negative.
Yeah.
Your hoodie is a great example. I'm in love with Juice WRLD. I followed his career. Oh my fucking God. Like of the greatest things to ever happen. And one thing I loved about him is that he didn't see barriers and borders in music. He talks about his love for some of these pop punk albums that he heard, and it kind of inspired him to kind of take that same leap and go. And I loved Juice WRLD so much. And I think about like these artists that are coming up that are young that don't look at music as hip hop and pop and punk. They look at it as music. What can we do with this soundscape to create something cool? And what they're doing, like I watched a video from Jaden the other day that like almost had me in tears, because it's like you are literally putting us in nostalgia while addressing real problems. And I feel like if anyone's going to dislike that, it's just because it's not cool to not like stuff. I wish people would understand that. It
Understand
doesn't
that.
make you interesting.
Yeah, I'm totally agree, because I mean, like, I know we're talking about like all of our favorites today, but that's also kind of why I recently like recommended and on Patreon and asked you to react to Water Parks, because they are known as a pop punk band, and they did Warped and like, you know, toured of All Time Low and bands like that, but they also don't like being boxed in. So like at the moment I've given you some very like pop punky style songs of theirs, but like I'm going to like try and send you some slower ones that and like some completely like that's not in that box because they don't like being in it. And the fact that nerdy moment, Austin and Ashton have written together.
Ooh.
So but yeah, I know that he's friends with 5 Seconds of Summer because he performed She's Kind of Hot on stage with them in Houston.
That's so awesome. So you know what I like about Water Parks? I know they're your favorite band. What I like about them is the lyrical honesty in the last 2 tracks I've listened to from them has been very much like introspective while also writing almost a letter to the fans. Like, why are we not allowed to have the same success that all of your favorites are allowed to have? And that resonated with me because I think of bands, you hear the term sellout, and I feel like growing up, you hear the term sellout so much. I look at a band like A Day to Remember. Like, I saw A Day to Remember, I'm going to be old for a second, but I saw A Day to Remember touring on that first release that is now considered old record. They played some, you know, crappy venues, whatever.
I saw them in a church.
Amazing.
Basement.
Yeah, exactly. So like they really came up in the DIY and they were serious about it. Jeremy McKinnon's songwriting is fucking incredible. And, you know, whether it is genuine or not doesn't matter because the later you get in these albums, it continues to get better and better. And they are so successful because of it. And people shit on that. But God, man, like Common Courtesy came out and I was so excited. That album was so good.
I love that album.
For them to break out of Victory Records, which is like such a negative place for so many bands, for them to break out of Victory Records and come out with Common Courtesy on their own, in my opinion, was a huge step in artistic movement. That album is perfection. And every album they put out is perfect. You know why? Because Jeremy McKinnon just understands the algorithm of writing a good song. Yeah. And everybody shits on them because they play these huge stadiums and they open for Papa Roach and all this other stuff. Bro, you should be stoked that a couple people from Ocala made it that far.
I have like a Victory Records CD insert signed by that band because that's like how long ago I saw them.
Hell yeah.
Like in a church basement. Like, yeah, I agree with that. I think that people kind of gatekeep like all that shit all the time. And it's horrible because like, who cares? Like, it's good music. Just let it happen. Just let it go.
That's it. That's it. I feel like the gatekeeping is honestly unfortunate for a lot of younger fans that just want a place to go and to like what they like. Like, we've been talking about pop and stuff this whole time. Let me just show you what I bought at the record store.
I was literally just about to ask. So you're going to show us this?
This is Abbott. It's black metal.
Gosh.
This is Immortal, who is Abbott was the original singer of Immortal, so more black metal. Cradle of Filth, King Diamond, which is one of the best artists of all time. Another Abbott record. This is all I bought today. But we can sit here and talk about pop music all day. And the thing is, people will see that and they'll be like, fucking poser, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, dude, I love the music for what it is. I love the symbolism that these bands have. I love the fact that every band that we've pretty much talked about today are people that have basically made music the way they wanted to make it and just happened to get successful. Like, to me, that's what's important. What's important to me is that we're getting honesty, integrity, and at the same time, we're finding a way to connect. And I feel like COVID, as terrible as it's been, we've never been closer with some of these bands.
Yeah.
Like these at home. Oh my God. I watched Nile live the other day.
That was
and like,
incredible.
I had like goosebumps the whole time because I was like, this is intimate. Orville Peck. I'm going to have a flex moment for a second. I love Orville Peck. He sent me tickets to his live stream and I got to watch that show from the courtesy of Orville Peck. And I was like having a fangirl moment because, again, just like the Honey Pop, fans first. I'm a fan before anything. Yeah. And to get that moment to me was huge. It was the first time that an artist had gifted me something. And it happened to be, I didn't get any views on that video. Like, it got maybe like 3,000 views, but he was one of them. And like, that's important to me because
that's awesome.
I praised him and I went nuts in that video because I loved it so much. And to see him have a response to be like, hey, Orville wants to gift you these tickets and whatever else to enjoy his live stream. I felt so close to him in that moment.
Yeah.
It was so awesome.
I love that.
I think a lot of bands, and we've talked about this a couple of times on the podcast as well, they've done such cool stuff like Zoom hangouts and Discord chats and stuff like that. And I totally agree. Like, I've never felt closer to some of my favorite bands, like
Yeah.
DMs, like all that stuff, like reaching out on Twitter, Zooms. It's just like amazing. Like as much as this year has sucked, like that has been the coolest part of it all. I totally
Well, and
agree.
like I never really had like recognition from like bands or anything. But then like Evanescence tweeted my video out and I was like,
That's awesome.
are you serious? And like, when would that have happened? And then like, since then, like I had that, I had Kelsey Ballerini, like put a whole thing out for me about my video. I'm like friends with the Veronicas now. Like, I don't know how this happened.
I
And
love
like,
it.
it happened out of nowhere because like, you know, I think it's important to know, like, I don't get a lot of views and I don't really I don't really push for views. Like I find a band I like or artists that I like, or for example, like, you know, video requests. I do all that because I don't care about the views at the end of the day. Like I'll post a video that'll get 700 views and one that'll get 70,000 views. To me, It's like, was the video good? Was the music good? Are people going to like it? Can I get more people to listen to it? Cool, I'm going to do it. And every so often, Kelsey Ballerini sees my video with 700 views and decides to tweet it out. Like, I love that. Like, I love that
So
artists
amazing.
give a shit. I
will
love that
say-
artists give a shit.
I
Yeah.
love how you have made your platform so accessible with Patreon and everything though. Like I know that there are several different tiers, but the fact that someone can come to you and for a few dollars a month see all that extra content as well, that has like been my 2020 is watching a lot of that. And I've actually found like other artists that I probably wouldn't have listened to before, and I'm like, I'm going to start watching the RBD ones because I've not checked them out before, so that's like my next thing to do. So me and my fiance will sit back and we'll put it on the TV and we'll just chill and like find a new band together. And I feel like, you know, well, obviously I'm going to mention it all in the video and that when I upload, but there's so much good content that because of YouTube blocking stuff that's on your Patreon that like people need to check out if they haven't already. So
I love you for saying that. It means a lot to me. It also means a lot to me that you support me over there because, you know, I mention it every once in a while and I usually get kind of sappy in my Patreon videos because I see a lot of people that'll like make a video and they'll put it on Patreon and then a little bit later they'll upload it to YouTube. But like I essentially have two channels where I upload like 3 videos a day on YouTube and then I upload to Patreon a little bit more sporadically, but it's more like in-depth stuff. And
it's so good having the uncut stuff over there as well. And just like
that was something that like I was always like wondering, like, do people care about this? Because I can't upload it to YouTube. Like there are some YouTubers I see that are able to get away with it, but it's because they can use like the educational thing. They can be like, oh, well, I'm a producer, so I can use the educational thing. I can't do that. I'm just a dude. And so like for me, you know, having that option to give people, because I know it matters to some people. That was something that it was like, okay, well, I got to figure out how to do this. Like I had to figure out what I can do to have that. And, you know, I had Patreon for a long time with 12 supporters. I still know who they are. I had 12 supporters on Patreon for like maybe like 8 months. And I guess during quarantine, I kind of like started to get the hang of it. And I think we're almost at 2,700. And like,
Wow.
that is
So cool.
nuts to me. That is nuts. But you know what? I literally, everything I have, all the music, the money, the giveaways, bills, food, everything. I would not have that if not for Patreon. And I always try to make sure that people that support know that. Like my YouTube channel makes less than $500 a month. I have 215,000 subscribers. I make less than $500 a month. Patreon, whole different story. But I wouldn't be able to do that. And so I was just a poor YouTuber for so long until I figured out that I needed to be a little bit more smart with how I was doing this. I was making content and uploading it. It was getting blocked and I was deleting it and throwing it in the garbage. I was doing all this work and it was going nowhere. I finally found a way to dump it and put it where people could actually see it and enjoy it. And who knew that I would, you know, turn this business into like a career? It's crazy.
It's such a good platform,
Awesome.
Patreon. More people need to see and use Patreon more, honestly.
Honestly, I'm not totally familiar with it, so I'm definitely gonna have to
A lot
check
of
it out
bands,
myself.
that like this year and that have had to get
Yeah.
revert to using Patreon, and it's such a cool site for, so many different people.
There's more
I love it.
freedom. Like I feel like I feel like if somebody watches my YouTube channel and then they go over and watch a Patreon exclusive video, they get kind of a different side. I like it to be more of like it's less of a lot of people are going to see this, like, you know, high energy, and more of like, hey, I'm stoked you guys are here. We should do this. And we're going to talk about it. And I'm going to talk way too much. If you guys can't tell, I talk too much. We're going to ramble. We're going to rant, and I don't have to cut anything out of it. Like I don't cut anything. We just talk. And it's really fun for me to have that option, because sometimes it is a nice breakup from what I'm doing normally. So I love it. And I learned so much about the artist, which is so awesome.
I do love that. That makes everything so much better. You know, I could talk forever about everything, honestly, so don't feel bad about ranting. We are the queens of that.
Okay.
So
I want to be that queen too.
So I have one more question for you, and then I'm going to let you ask us any question that you really want to know. So our last question would be, what is your most prized vinyl? I can see you collect them a lot. Not necessarily your favorite album or whatever, but what's the story behind your like most prized vinyl in your collection?
Okay. Let me think.
That's a hard question when you're a collector as well.
I know.
There's like 600 over here. We're going to talk about this one because I've had this for a long time. This is a Black Flag gold record signed by Henry Rollins. And this one is probably, I've had this so long. I've probably had this as long as I've been collecting. It was a gift from a friend, and it was just like a completely random thing that came in the mail one day, and they were like, hey, got you this cool thing I saw on a website. Hope you like it. And I opened it up and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, this is so awesome.
Yeah.
So as far as albums that I don't play, obviously I've never played this.
Right.
I just have it because of what it is. The only other one, I'm like looking, there's like
so many to choose from.
Well, I guess the other one that is like really important to me is I have the entire Bayside discography on vinyl, and that's probably my most like important, especially because some of those records that are in there were like hundreds of dollars because you try to like hunt them down. But that's probably my go-to as most important. That's been the most important band in my life for the better part of like 15 years, 16 years.
Yeah.
Actually, and I had to pre-order the new one as soon as it came out because I was like, oh my God, I told myself I'm not spending any more money online, but I have no choice but to buy this because how do you not continue that? So that would probably be it. I mean, I have like a signed Newfound Glory Sticks and Stones record. I have
such a good album.
Oh my God.
I honestly, that is a tough question because I truthfully don't even think I have even close to as many as you, but I don't think I could pick.
It's just hard because it depends on what day it is. How do I feel? Are the antidepressants hitting good? How am I feeling? Like,
mine's probably easily my Water Parks vinyls because they're a band that have Easter eggs in everything, and every era is a color. And I've got like the Entertainment vinyl that's like the Aubergine because that was like the purple era. And that's a really cool, sick, just aesthetically pleasing vinyl.
That is so awesome.
And like the Fandom's era was green. So they did loads of different colors, but like I've got the green vinyl and stuff. Yeah.
That's so awesome. I feel like there's no better way to listen to music than vinyl because you know what? It's less about the sound as much as the sound is important. It is it's a ritual.
Yes.
Like it takes a lot. It's a lot of moving pieces. You got to press a lot of buttons, a lot of plastic, a lot of sleeves. You got to flip it. You got to use a lot of tools. But what it does is you appreciate the music so much more because of the work you had to do to listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Totally
what about
agree.
What's your favorite? We got Jody's. What's yours?
Okay, so I knew you guys were gonna ask, so that I'm all right. So I would say the one that sits in my record player the most would be Lil Peep's Everybody Everything because I am a huge Lil Peep fan. And I almost started talking about him when we were talking about Juice World, but I didn't want to rant too far. So I try to leave him out, but it's actually probably sitting in my like shelf right now. But yeah, that's just one of my favorite records. I love Lil Peep. I love everything he did. I miss him. I could just go on about him forever. That would be one. And then my number 2 one would be All Distortions Are Intentional by Neck Deep, just because
Okay.
I hold a really like big thing with that album. It was the first album that I got an early release to from the Honey Pop, so like it was a big deal for me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so like that's just one that like is really like that album I play over and over again because it's like super special to me. So that's what I
That's super awesome. I mean, and that's the thing too, like, you know, sometimes like I'm not like a variant collector or anything. Like I want one of everything in the discography, whereas some of these pages I follow like need every color of everything. And to me, like I listen to all mine. So
yeah,
like
me too.
I don't care what color it is. I mean, I do have 4 copies of Calm though. I have 4 copies of Calm.
I feel that's acceptable. It's acceptable. You know?
I'm not even going to lie. I have about over 20 copies of Calm.
Jody, oh my god.
They brought out the cassettes and they were all individually signed by them. Had to have them. Then they brought out the album, signed by them, and you got the voice note. Oh, what a cutie! And but yes, that was signed. Had to get that. Then they brought them out with, you know, you've got the signed poster. So yeah, had to do that.
Oh my god!
And then I just forgot about it. And my partner Ben one day, he just went, "Jodie, what have you done?" And I went, "What do you mean?" And there was all the individual boxes. Obviously, I had to get the vinyl too. Yeah, I went a bit hard on that one. So, but I'm gonna probably do a giveaway or something at some point because I like them all. But, I had to support.
You can make a shrine.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But yeah, I went a bit crazy on that one. I buy and I forget. I'm a bit obsessed with vinyls and CDs. I've got far too many.
Same. Oh, same. Ugh. I was doing my Discogs. I try to like categorize, or I try to put in everything I have so that because we'll go record shopping, and like I love to go to Minnesota to buy records, or Chicago, because there's like a pretty decent amount of record stores. I bring my box and I buy as much as I can fit into that box. I think it holds like 40 or 50, and I will buy every single thing that I come in contact with that I love. And I was doing my Discogs one time, and it like estimates the value, and I almost vomited. I was like, what have I done? Like, this is bad. But like, I talk about a lot. I went from like I never had money like growing up. And so like to be in a position to like have the things that you want, it's kind of a weird thing. And it's like it's a moment where you're kind of like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do? And so oftentimes it ends up with me just buying people stuff on the timeline, which I gotta stop doing that because, because I do it and then I'm like, oh, damn it, what did I just do? Because I just bought like 4 copies of the same record. And then sometimes it's just like, you know, I go to a small record store and like, I'm like, man, I know that the more I buy, like the more it supports this record store. So anything I wanted or anything that I've been looking at, I should just get it while I'm here. So I'm not buying it from like fucking Target or something. Like I can find a way to support small indie record stores so that when COVID's over, they still exist, because it's one of the best places. I can spend hours in these record stores just looking and just through each record, because you never know what you're gonna find. Like you find the cool stuff sometimes.
I was gonna say what an important way to support the music scene.
Yeah.
That's my dog. Zero. Come on.
It's named Zero.
Yeah, he's so cute as well.
Let's see if I can get him out. Come on, Zero. He's really tired, and usually he is like, he's a puppy, so he's a ball of fire. But let me
Zero.
Come here, bud. Come here. Come here. Come on.
Zero, come to us. Come to us.
You might have to actually turn her green screen off.
Come on. You were so good the whole time. Come here. You want to say hi?
Zero, come here. I want to see you.
Thank you. He's so beautiful, isn't he?
He's a
Oh
puppy.
my God. He's a puppy?
Yeah, he's a puppy, and he's huge.
He's huge, and then
He's-
you've got
Okay.
then my one isn't a puppy, but looks like one. I think. Where is she?
Oh my God. I feel so bad that Layla's not in here.
What, bub? Yeah, he is. He'll be a year in February, but he is huge.
Oh my gosh.
What? You were so good the whole time, and now you're like, no.
He says, I want attention.
Hi,
Mom.
I know. I'm almost finished.
Mom, I want attention.
Yeah, I had a dog before him, and his name was Burton. So I just kept the Nightmare Before Christmas theme.
Love that.
going.
Love that. Okay, I saw a thing being voted on Instagram the other day. Do you consider Nightmare Before Christmas a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie?
I consider it more of a Halloween movie. However, I still watch it on both Halloween and Christmas. What about
That's
you?
how I feel about it. That's
Yeah.
how I feel about it because like you think about it a lot during Halloween, but some of the pivotal moments in that are Christmas.
Right.
And so like it fits so well into both. Oh my God.
Exactly.
The little puppy.
7 years old, and she's called Pinky. And
And she wears the clothes. I love that she wears clothes.
she's
Oh,
actually
yeah, mine
my
does
most
too.
sport animal as well. So she's she's really great for like when she knows when I'm anxious, and she's there for like helping me calm. And because I have seizures, without any training though, weirdly enough, she knows when I'm going to have one, and she knows how to alert people when I'm having one. So she's a smart little lady, bless her.
Oh my God, she's amazing. I'm just like loving the animals right now. Oh my God.
The animals, all about them.
Yeah, usually, what was it the first time I tried to do the intro that Zero he was like, no, you're not. He just started barking like crazy. All right, so now that we've had a little introduction from our pets, I'm going to finish it off by asking you if you have any questions for us.
Okay, so we already covered your favorite artist for the most part. So without naming, and this is for both of you, without naming artists that we've already talked about, what was one of your favorite live shows you've ever been to?
You go first, Danny.
Oh, damn it. I knew you were going to do that. Because we can't talk about artists we already talked about, I'm just going to mention his name and then move on. But MGK puts on a hell of a live show. And I can't
believe
wait.
that.
I can't wait for it to come back and see him do his pop punk stuff because I watched the live stream, but I'll move away from him. So my favorite show, I would say, of the most recent times would probably be the band Grayscale. I'm not sure if you are familiar
I've
with
heard
them.
of them.
Yeah, so we cover them a lot actually at the Honey Pop, and we did get, I think, to do a couple of interviews with them, and they opened up, or the band Rich People opened up for them, and I love that band like so much, and we've talked about them before, Jody. They're on like my top like 5 albums of the year because they just put out a new album, and they're from Philly and I'm from Delaware, so like Philly's the closest like place I can rep. So
Yeah.
So I saw them perform I would say like last spring, and it was just amazing. Like the energy in that room was just phenomenal from the time they were on the stage all the way through all the openers up to Grayscale. And it was just like overall one of those shows where like everybody on the bill like rocked. And as I am like older now, like going to shows that have a lot of people on the bill, like to not like them all is so painful. So like,
Yeah.
I just love that show because I love them all.
That's awesome. It's, you know, that kind of energy I like what you said, going to a bill where there's like a lot of bands.
Yeah.
One thing that I went and I saw Newfound Glory perform 2 full albums,
Yes.
and my legs hurt so bad from standing there. You don't think about that when you're, 17, but when I was like 29, I was like, this sucks.
Yeah. And like going to, like, I was a barrier queen. I used to always like be in the very front row, and sometimes I'll take myself up there, but most of the time I like hang out in the bar just because I don't get shoved around. And I'm just like, here I am, I'm old. And I just enjoy that now because it's so, oh my God, my body just cannot bounce back anymore.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing as you get older, the type of pains that have just started to exist. Yeah. What the fuck?
Like, what happened to me?
It's literally when that dial hits 30, honestly. It's like, wow. Yeah, trust me, I'm older than both of you. And with each year, it's like it gets a teeny bit achier. I'm sorry.
No.
Don't tell us that. We're already
sorry. But yeah, I've got like 5 years on you, Danny, haven't I? So yeah. So but I know we briefly mentioned him, but I'd have to say Youngblood. I can't not say that Youngblood live.
Special shout.
Also saw him at Brixton as well. It's because like that's my favourite venue ever. It's just iconic. Just to think about all of the people like Barry and Rolling Stones and all of that have been in that venue and stuff. But like also Youngblood there live. It didn't matter whether you were at Barrier or in the middle in the pit or at the back row. And as someone who actually started pretty close and moved back because like I am older and I felt like it is the time for like the younger ones to go in that pit and have a great time. I went and stood by the bar and watched that show and I still felt like I was front row
right there.
And his charisma and the fact that he doesn't just like stage dive, he goes out into the crowd with the fans and sings with them. And like he's got something really special with the Black Hearts Club about, like you said earlier, unapologetically being yourself. And I just love that he stands for that. And I love that his worlds has collided with MGK, who also has that with EST. Like a lot of people don't realize that he has it. Everyone stands together as such a cool thing. But those two colliding, they stand for so much with that and being guys that are feminine as well. So like, it's like we've come full circle in our conversation. Yeah, like totally. Yeah, that is just, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
It's really cool that I went to a Youngblood show and I saw old guys stood at the back and like at first I assumed that they were like parents waiting for their kids at the show. No, they had gone to every show on his tour because they love him so much. And then you've got all the 15 and 16-year-olds at the front as well. Like it's the fact that he can cross so many different age groups and people just love that. I just thought that was a really cool moment to realize at a show that like people are like, doesn't matter how old you are, like you can like whoever you want, be whoever you want. And it's in the small few, usually with a louder voice, are the ones that seem to ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah, I feel like that. I mean, first, yes, Youngblood's existence is fucking awesome. And I feel like the more and more that I hear from him, the more I'm just kind of blown away at hearing this sound come back and being done with such a modern twist. And it's even bigger of a deal to have someone like Youngblood at the forefront with MGK because they are such powerful voices. And again, like you said, unapologetically themselves, and they're setting a standard and they're setting like sort of like a guide as to how to live your life. They don't give a fuck. Seeing MGK in his all pink, like, oh my God, he looked so good. I forget what award show it was, but he won. And it was so awesome to see that because I didn't even know that's how he was. Like, I didn't know that he was so like outspoken and stuff like that, because you kind of just like, if you don't know a lot about an artist, you don't always know kind of what their beliefs are. But to see him do that, and then just seeing Youngblood on the timeline with a dress, and again, never caring. I love that so much because I try to live my life that way, especially after maybe caring too much when I was younger. It's really cool to actually see people break out of that shell and to have people they can look up to, because for the longest time, there wasn't really anyone and like my age group, I think Davey Havoc was someone that like I could look up to because he was always a little bit more on the feminine side and was always willing to like be himself and paint his nails and be that person. And then after that, Gerard Way came out, and I feel like Gerard Way was like somebody that people could look up to for that. And then my dog now. And then
your turn.
Yeah, right. And then, you know, leading up to someone like Youngblood. And then when I hear, what is it, MGK, Burt, and Youngblood on that track on the MGK bonus track.
Oh my gosh.
That's my wife's favorite song. Like she
I
listens to it all day, every day.
Love it. She's got good taste.
Oh, she's like a total, she like loves The Used, loves My Chem, all that. She grew up going to like hardcore shows. She's also vegan and straight edge and like all that stuff. But she is obsessed with that. She actually was the first one to introduce me to Youngblood, and like same with Black Bear. Like she's more like in tune. She's like more in tune with that. So she's always like playing it, and I'm like, oh, who's this? And then we kind of like talk about it, and it's just really cool to hear her so stoked about that collab, because I was like, fuck yeah,
it's such a good one.
I think I did like the reaction to I Think I'm Okay, and then like shortly after, she had already like overplayed it on Spotify. It was in her like top listen. She's like, I gotta show you the song. I was like, I heard it.
Basically, what I love about it so much is how like so many people of different ages are opening up and embracing him, and I feel like he's breaking down a lot more barriers as an activist just as much as he is as a musician. So that's why I think
yes. I gained a new respect for him when I saw the amount of legwork he was doing for the BLM movement and George Floyd. I think that whatever like I kind of knew about him, it was then that I was like, this dude gives a shit. Like, you know, celebrities that were putting their careers on the line. I love that, because it's the time, if ever. Halsey was another one that like, I already loved her, but like, I was like, oh, hell yeah. She was all about it. She was out there being a medic. Like, that was so amazing to me. So I loved that dynamic and seeing a lot of realness, and then a lot of people that maybe I don't care for anymore because they weren't really showing up, or they didn't seem to think it was very important. I feel like there's some YouTubers that I don't really care as much about anymore as I did, because it's like, there's multiple times you could have used your platform for something and you promoted something else. So
yeah, I noticed that a lot as well. I feel like it's great to see people like Youngblood who actually wasn't just hopping on the bandwagon like some people were as well. Like he's never been performative, because before that and before this election, he's also been very open about politics in the UK as well. So he's consistently always fought and to be like that. And then you've got like people who used to do YouTube and that are very vocal, like Elijah Daniel, who like do so many cool things. Absolutely love that guy. And the fact that he used his platform so much. And I mean, he was out there delivering stuff to Halsey and to Youngblood at those marches. And that was really cool to see. So yeah.
It was just definitely a moment where I feel like if 2020 gave us anything, it gave us more of a mindful eye as to who we put our attention to. And I definitely feel like I've supported people in the past that I don't care to support so much anymore, because I feel like if any time you want to care about your following and people as just humans, you do it around 2020, between the election, between obviously the horrible things that have been surrounding the election. George Floyd was major. And I feel like if you didn't have the audacity to come out and just say that this George Floyd thing is fucked, that BLM is important, that Donald Trump can suck an ass. If you didn't have the audacity to come out and say those things, I think I'm like a little bit more like hesitant to like, be openly like having a friendship with some of them, because I'm like, you need to take a fucking stance. You need to be the person that people are going to remember and be on the right side of history, and stop trying to be famous.
Yeah.
It's so important. I completely agree with that. And I think that Youngblood, again, has done such a great job with that. And I am about to flex my Honey Pop cool things that the Honey Pop has done for me. But I got to actually do a live Zoom thing with Youngblood about his press conference a few weeks ago about his new album, and like I can't wait for you guys to hear it, because he talks about this one song on there, and like
I've heard it.
Yeah, he
done a
put
live stream concert, and I went to it last.
yeah,
So
and he put so much into it. It was does he talk about like the background in it?
he didn't go into too much depth because I think like he's doing Q&As and stuff in between.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's
you're going as well. I got you a live stream.
yeah,
So.
yeah, and I get to go to that live stream as well. But he just put so much into that, and he talks on so many good subjects, and that album is going to be just amazing. I can't wait to hear it.
Damn, he's somebody that I definitely need to like sit down and just listen to an album from. I feel like singles are one thing, but I need to hear the completed package.
Yeah, for
because
sure.
21st Century Liability is just one hell of a, I think that's the name of the album, but it's one hell of an album. So good. I've got to check that now. But yeah, it's so sick.
I'm totally interested. My wife loves Hope for the Underrated Youth. She listens to that song like every fucking day. I hear it all the time. So I know every word to that. But like there's so much to love in that song that I feel like there'd be a lot to get out of an album because it feels like we were talking earlier, he feels like an artist that actually is branching multiple things kind of at once. Although I do feel like that one definitely has a little bit more of like the pop punk emo kind of influence in it, but he has like a little, like his verse is like a little bit more like hip hop, a little bit more lyrical in it. So kind of interested to check that out.
Yeah, I will say it's like he's also the fact that he's also used his platform to address like a serious subject like consent and no means no, and he's put that in his songs and stuff as well. That, and especially with such young audience, him putting those messages out there and not being afraid to say it is just like, yeah, I could talk about him forever, but yeah.
But well, so is there any other questions you have, or
Okay, so I asked you about your records. I asked you about your favorite show. What is your, and this may be going back to things that we've already talked about with artists, but because, you know, you obviously do press on top of everything else, what has been your, like, your moment that was kind of like, this is really important to me. I want to do this as long as I can. Like, what was maybe not necessarily like the article, but bruh. Really? That is somebody's midnight memories. Don't do that. Okay. So maybe not necessarily an article, but what was like that moment, whether it was an interaction with an artist, what was something that kind of made you be like, you know what, this is very important to me and I'm going to see this through?
I think for me, because I work what you would say back office a lot. Like I talk to their publicists and things like that, and I get the PRs and the advanced listens and things for things. And I feel like the best part within the Honeypop for me with that is the fact that I get to message Danny or message another writer, and I get to say, do you want to hear an advanced listen of your favorite artist album? And that feeling, that feeling is really cool. And then also the fact that I get to occasionally see replies from publicists saying, this article's amazing, so good, thank you. Like hearing that from their team is just really cool, and getting to feed that back to a writer and say, you've done such a cool job on this, look, they're noticing. And then getting a press release through with a quote from our articles and then the Honeypop underneath. That's happening now, and that's really cool, and it's so nice to see. So yeah, I feel like, yeah, I get the warm fuzzies from seeing things like that. So
that is like the most like genuine shit right there. That's the most like genuine answer. I love that so much.
I should have went first because like so I would say like I'm on the other side of it. Like I write definitely more than I do any of the back like logging stuff. And I know a lot of the times like Jody comes to me and she's like, you like this person, right? And I'm like, yep, sure do. But for me, I would say writing about artists that I love and getting feedback from other fans is like amazing because they like feel what I'm feeling. So it's like cool to relate to fans on that level. And then I would say for me, I'm going to go back to somebody I talked about earlier. The band Rich People, I wrote up, and they're a smaller band. They're gaining a following. I wrote a write-up about their new album, and they like tweeted me and they were like, these are the best words we've ever heard written about our band. And I was just like, oh my God. And like,
Hell yeah.
yeah, that was like my moment where I was like, I'm actually kind of good at this. Maybe I should like, this is it. Like, and from that moment, I mean, even before that, but from that moment, I was just like, this is something that I'm riding and dying for the Honey Pop. Like, that's it.
Same.
I love that. I love that because at the end of the day, like fans first, right? And so
Yeah.
both of those answers are so like fan oriented. Where like even like when it comes to like the press releases, like being able to have that connection with a band is like getting the hey, you're on the guest list tonight. Like that's what it feels like. It feels like you're part of the community in a much bigger way. Yeah, the Honey Pop is awesome. Like it's the most it's such a cool and interesting way to go about journalism. And I feel like it really leaves a lot to offer because no one's going in trying to, people are picking what bands they want to cover. They're picking their favorite bands. They're picking artists that they've heard of. They're picking things that they're already interested in for the most part. Right. Being able to write from that, you're going to get passion, and that's awesome. So awesome.
Yeah. So it's so much fun. It's like the best. And like I found so many new bands and like I've got to cover some of my favorites and I couldn't be happier with like everything. And like you said, I've gotten like guest lists to shows and stuff like that and Zoom calls like with artists like I could never have imagined to like attend before this. So like it's really awesome. Even this is like an awesome opportunity for us. Like it's so cool like that we got to do this. I was like, I'm gonna tweet him and see if he's down.
Of course I'm gonna say yes. Well, I love you guys. Of course I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, we're really, really grateful and thankful that you like took time out to do this with us today. So thank you so much. Like
yes.
Yeah. Like I said, whenever you ask me, it's like it's the most amazing thing when like people that you like want to spend time talking to you. Like that's awesome. Yeah, so I really appreciate it.
We'll definitely have you back on the show. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
I'm down.